There we go. Okay, we're
Okay.
recording now. So, hey, everybody, we've got Coleman here today on what is, and I forget exactly what episode of the Six Pack Dad Tribe podcast this is. So, Tyson's going to have to throw that in there. I forgot to check with him today, but we wanted to bring on another one of our very successful candidates that we've had run through this program and just get a little bit of insight on who he is, why he got into the program, and exactly what motivated him to continue and progress through the program and move that needle. What kept him motivated? Because we all know there's a lot of things that can get us off track. And Coleman's been one of those guys that really stayed the course and showed a lot of progress. So I want to introduce to you guys Coleman right now. And Coleman, why don't you just start by saying hi and then telling us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Jeffrey. Hello, everyone. My name is Coleman Nelson, and just a little bit about me. I am 34 years old, from Cincinnati, Ohio. My background is in finance and accounting. About 5 years ago, I started a real estate investment company with a couple other business partners, and have been doing that ever since. And so over those past 5 years, been growing that business and also growing our family. So my wife and I have 4 kids. We just had our newest addition about a month and a half ago. And so we got two girls, 2 boys, 7 and under. So it's been pretty busy. I guess just my background, long-term history for me. My family, I grew up, I would say overweight most of my life. I never was a skinny kid, never like super overweight, but always just on the heavier side. In high school, or middle school through high school, I played lineman in football. So I was on the bigger end of the scale. So the idea of this 6-pack dad tribe, when I joined, the idea of a 6-pack has never been attainable in my mind. So going in, that wasn't necessarily my goal, but wanted to get in a healthier state. So back in high school, when I was at my most fit level, I was about 185, and I was about 215 earlier on. But after I hit puberty, I got a little bit taller, lost some of that baby fat, and got a little bit healthier. And so about 185 was kind of my healthy weight at that time. And over the years since high school, I've gone up to about 225, down to 190, kind of been in that range. But 190 to 195, I was there for a while until I started my business. Once I started my own business, I was working a full-time job at the time and started the business on the side. So I was on the 2-job side hustle thing for about 3 years. And during that time, my health was not the priority. Priority was my family first, and then growing this company. So because of that, my weight went all the way up to, I think when I joined the program, I was 248. So biggest I've ever been. And I had tried some different things in the past and dropped some weight, but nothing would stick. So I guess that's my background of kind of where I came from and what I've been up to.
How did you find the program? What prompted you to investigate 6-pack dad tribe?
So Tyson just reached out to me, basically a cold call. He reached out through LinkedIn, so business connection. We have similar backgrounds, and so he found me and asked me if I was interested in it. At that time, I necessarily wasn't looking, but I knew I needed to do something. About a year ago, before Tyson reached out to me, I had tried another program, probably lost 15 pounds. I got sick with something flu-like, whether it was flu, I don't know, but it kind of derailed me, and I got off that plan, and the weight came back on. And so that was kind of in the past, and I was like, I need to do something. And when he called, we talked about the program and things like that, and it seemed to be a good fit for what I needed, and it seemed like a great opportunity for me.
When you first started the program, and as we provide you with that Google tracker and we set you up with MyFitnessPal, did you know how heavy you were when you started the program, or was that a surprise to you? I mean, I knew you felt you were heavier, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you know it was 248?
No, I knew it was getting up in the 240s, because I wasn't regularly checking, but periodically I would step on the scale just to see where I was. But usually when my weight's going up, I'm not on the scale as often as I am when the weight's going down. I'm more excited to get on and track that progress. So,
well, you bring up a good point there, because there's a mental aspect to what's happening to us. And even subconsciously, when I was my heaviest, I would have never gotten on the scale until I started making changes. And, you realize I am heavier, but you're ignoring it at the same time. Your clothes aren't fitting as good. And you could tell, that shirt that used to fit great doesn't fit great, anymore, even though we're stuffing ourselves back into it. So that's an important part. And I found that a lot of guys in the program have no idea what they actually weighed before they start the program. They just know they need to do something, and the number is a real surprise to a lot of guys.
Yeah. I mean, you can, if you don't know the number, then you can pretend to be ignorant of it and don't have to take accountability.
Right. Well, you can always claim you weigh what you did on your driver's license.
Right.
Because that's in writing.
That's right.
So what was one of the toughest parts about starting the program for you? What can you share with new people that are in the program that was an obstacle for you?
Part of it for me was when I started. So I started on December 22nd. It was right before Christmas and New Year's, and I knew that was going to be a challenge for me. But I also saw that as an advantage of, usually that first week is when you're most invested and you haven't had that opportunity to kind of fall off track. So for me, it was good timing. It kept me from continuing a lot of bad habits through that holiday season. And so during that first week, I think I lost, I don't remember exactly, but it was at least 5 pounds like that first week. A lot of that was water weight and things like that, but but
it was 6 pounds. I got your tracker.
6 pounds? Okay.
6 pounds first week. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order, being able to do that through the holidays was a big success for me, and also a boost to kind of get me going through the program, to kind of get that buy-in that I needed mentally, that, okay, this works if I follow the program. So that was part of it. I'm trying to think of so part of the program of intermittent fasting. That is something that I think is a really important aspect of it. And I had tried it in the past, but nothing long-term. And so when I'm intermittent fasting, it doesn't seem to be very difficult. But when I'm not intermittent fasting, the idea of doing it does seem difficult. So if I'm eating breakfast every morning, just the thought of stopping that routine it can be a challenge. But once I'm doing it and in the routine, it's second nature, and I don't miss that meal in the morning. So so probably that as well, just getting the habit started of those new habits that I needed to. Also, just changing my diet of going to the store and picking up all the protein and all those food sources that I needed for the plan.
Well, I want to point out, you started this on December 21st, and you've got two of the biggest holidays that you face right away, in your face, going through Christmas, and then you've got New Year's. So those are two of the biggest food holidays we have during the year. And through that, you lost 8 pounds, through those two holidays. So to have you lose 8 pounds through two of the biggest holidays of the year is a testament to just how well you and I'm talking about how great the program is, but how well Coleman followed that, prescribed program there through the holidays, changing the types of foods that you were eating, the intermittent fasting, watching your calories. I don't even know if we were tracking macros and stuff way back for you at that point. Yeah, we were just letting you get, involved in the program. So to have 8 pounds and probably not even looking at your sodium and your carbs and other than probably your protein, I think you were probably watching that amount of protein coming in, but that is amazing. And it also shows that you don't have to have a specific type of metabolism, build, lifestyle to make this work, as long as you apply the principles of the way the program's been designed. And I think that was one of the things that Tyson and I talked a lot about. We talked about, Ron and Star and some of the other guys that have had great success, but your success right along with that is simply just being diligent, because throughout the program, you don't have giant weight loss leaps every week. It was just steady state, nice, and probably slower than you wanted, mentally and emotionally, looking at, we want 5 pounds every week. All of us want to be able to shred that 5 pounds every week, but you'd constantly move the needle. You never really had a backslide in there that a lot of guys suffer probably around the 8 to 10 week mark. You get some guys that start to backslide a little bit. So
I was definitely heavy on the loss or those first few weeks, but after that, I think it was consistent 1 to 3 pounds every week. I didn't have any, from what I remember during those first 12 to 16 weeks, I don't think I had any where I gained weight. So
you did. You had 1 week where you stayed the same.
Yeah.
At the end of January, and after that, it was constantly losing. So, where are you at today? I mean, what is it? What did you weigh? Have you weighed today or this week?
Yeah. So I guess overall, I've been in the program for 6 months now. I lost 36 pounds. And so I was down to 214. I mentioned having a baby about a month and a half ago. So I have put on a couple pounds since then. With that baby came a lot of extra things in my schedule that one thing that I wish I would have done in the program more is get better at home exercises. So I have a gym membership, and I was doing most of my exercises at the gym, and that if I would have incorporated more home-based exercises into the program, it would have been easier right now, because getting to the gym is really tough. Because when the baby wakes up at 6 a.m, I'm with the baby, so my wife can get a couple hours of sleep before she's with the kids all day, and having everything kind of eat into my work schedule and things like that. So so for the past month and a half, I've been, I would say, kind of cruising, just trying to maintain until things get back to normal here, hopefully next week or two. But so overall 36 pounds in those first 5 months is what I lost. Yeah.
That's great, because you're averaging about 1.5 pounds a week, which is a really healthy pace. I mean, losing 2, 3, 5 pounds, 5 pounds a week, that becomes unhealthy at some point. Nobody recommends that, because it's unsustainable. 1.5 pounds a week is really able to build into that sustainable lifestyle that we talk about getting you into. You brought up a good point there about home exercises. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of guys that are struggling with, I'm at home, so I can't really work out. I don't like, what do I do body weight wise? And there's a lot of things that we can do, but when you think about it, very simple: sit-ups, push-ups, body weight squats, those kind of things. If you can't do anything else, those 3 will wipe you out in about 15 minutes if you're intense about it. And I think that's an important point you bring up, is being able to adapt to when I can't get to the gym. What do I do? Because we still have to figure out what that activity is, even if it's just a walk around the neighborhood or whatever. Every bit of activity counts.
Yeah.
And that's important to keep working into our routine. So I'm glad you brought that up, because the program, it really is designed for not having, you don't have to have a gym membership. It's easier. And if you're motivated to go, folks, it is easier to get to the gym and do these exercises. You have to be super motivated to work out at home and have that space to do it. But
when
Go ahead.
I was gonna say when I'm talking about it, really, I don't have an excuse.
Right.
Like how long does it take to do push-ups until I can't do anymore and sit-ups?
Right.
It doesn't take that long, and I can find that time of the day. But because I didn't have that as a routine, and just trying to start that routine when everything else around me is kind of going a little bit crazier than normal, it makes it even more difficult. And so, yeah,
it really does. And as humans, and as guys who are out of shape and trying to get into shape, we're very good at coming up with excuses on why not. Not why not to do something, but why I can't do something. I can't.
yeah,
Because you're right. Uh, Push-ups to failure, sit-ups to failure, body weight squats to failure takes you about 12 minutes in the day, and you do that a couple times a day, you're wiped out. And so it's a very simple concept, very difficult to execute. The execution level on that is a 10 difficulty versus, the actual concept is so simple. So I'm glad you brought that up there. When you work through the program, was there anything, or there has to be something, but think of what you could share of what you would have really liked to maybe have in the program that you didn't have, maybe accountability wise or tools to track, and what were some of the things that you thought were just absolutely invaluable to you?
That's a good question. I guess I'll start with the tools that I did have that I found most useful. Starting off is just a food tracker. So I used MyFitnessPal. Just tracking what I ate was I wouldn't say it's simple. It's another thing. It's simple in concept, but execution can be difficult to do. Just taking the time to put in everything that you eat. And at first, you don't know what a serving of protein is or things like that. And so having to measure or weigh things out just to get an idea of how much I'm actually eating and putting into my body, that's a pretty big challenge. But I feel like tracking that is huge. And without it, there's no way I could have been successful. So that's one main thing. One other valuable piece is just the accountability. Having yourself review my MyFitnessPal on a weekly basis, and knowing that you're going to review it every Friday, it helps make that decision a little bit easier when I am faced with a cookie or a protein bar. I know I need to get that protein bar in because I'm going to hear about it on Friday. So that's another big piece of it. I'm trying to think of what wasn't there. I can't really think of anything offhand. I would say one thing that there is now that there wasn't when I started was the monthly mastermind meetings with the other guys in the group. Because it being the six-pack dad tribe, we see the spreadsheet of the successes of these other guys in the program. We kind of see a little bit of their background, but don't really get to know them that well. But having these mastermind meetings, I've actually got to know some of the other guys, and having that additional accountability, not just with you or with Tyson, but being able to see other guys who are working through the process right along with me. So I think that's a great addition that has been added to the program, to be able to just to have someone else there who can relate with you, is right there with you. So
yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because when Tyson and I talked about that and putting those things into place, it's really that mindset. We've heard it before, and it's kind of cliche, but it takes a village, to do things, and that's really our mindset here. Is it's a collective, and we all have individual experiences, and I'm saying this for all the guys that are going to watch this and listen to this, and everybody has something they can contribute that's different. And a lot of guys don't like to raise their hands and ask those questions, and I think the mastermind class helps facilitate some of that as well. The other thing you brought up that I think is very important, and we do struggle with this with some guys time to time, is how important that food tracking is. You talked about that being a tool and essential to your success. What was one of the biggest surprises when you started tracking all that food and everything you were doing that you found that had we asked you, or you've been asked without tracking food, did you know this? That was a total like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's an easy one. That's got to be sodium.
Right.
Yeah.
Sodium.
So, yeah, there's no clue how much sodium's in food. And I think that there can be good sources of sodium, but just most of the foods that are out there are just packed with it and isn't necessary. It's even a frozen chicken breast has a decent amount of sodium in it, so you gotta watch that. So I guess that was the big eye opener for me, and just learning how much 150 grams of protein is, what it takes to get there. Can you do it just eating whole foods? It's pretty tough, and so using protein powders and things like that are to supplement those meals, definitely important part of the process.
I mean, eating 150, 180 grams of protein of just meat and protein, that's a lot of eating.
Yeah.
All day long. I mean, you feel like you're eating nonstop. So
yeah.
It's something else Tyson and I have talked about is the importance of that supplementing. A lot of guys come into the program and they're like, no, I can't. 180 grams, can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
In this first week, and they've got 65 grams and 72 grams. And, like, man, you got 100 more grams we got to get in here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do it. And so it's important you bring up that the powders and, maybe even the premixed protein shakes, that kind of stuff that really makes a difference and makes it easier to hit those macros when we need to, because it can be very difficult. And I know if you feel like you're eating fleshy protein all day long, it's not sustainable mentally, I don't think.
Right.
So it's important that we have, and so it's by design that Tyson has that kind of stuff in there, because he knows that even if you're successful with the weight loss after you're off the program, you're not going to continue to eat that much, fleshy protein in a day. So it is by design. And I think that's important that you recognize something like that, because it's right from the beginning. I think that's a very important point. No matter how many times I say it to some guys, it takes them 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to finally recognize the fact, I got to get that much protein in, and how important protein is to that fat synthesis.
Yeah. And I guess where I came from, my idea of protein powders and things like that was that's for bodybuilders or guys that are going to the gym all the time and trying to bulk up. And so it was never something that I really considered using. But it's been a great tool, because whether it's protein powder or a healthy protein bar, to get you through the mid-afternoon munchies, turning to something like that instead of another food source, it can just kind of get you through to that next meal. And as far as protein to calorie ratio and sugar and things like that, it's a great resource to kind of get those good macronutrients that we need.
Well, there is a science behind the art of doing this, and hearing somebody talk about the virtues of just that MyFitnessPal and the tracking I think that's very important, and that goes a long way for the guys that are going to watch this, because it is so important. Tracking is an essential part of the success in this, and you don't have to do it forever, because as you've said more than once, you've learned what does a serving of protein look like, what does a serving of this look like, and you can go out comfortably now and have a meal at a restaurant or something, and visually you got an idea of this is how many calories and these are what my macros are probably going to look like. And the downside is we start thinking like that forever. Everything is now a portion size and a macro to us. So I can't help that. And I'm not going to apologize for it, because I think it's important we learn that, as we go forward. But you will forever now look at everything based on calories and macros, whether you can help it or not.
Yeah. And I think tracking has been very helpful for me as far as like with the business, we have to go out to lunch, not all the time, but fairly often. We have lunch meetings and things like that. And just making the effort before we go to lunch to either look at their menu or see what their menu options are. And then if they have a nutrition section, I can look at that and see, all right, where are the calories, where the protein, what's the sodium, and I can figure out what I'm going to eat before I get there, based on what is going to set me up for success and what I can fit into my meal plan for that day. And potentially, if they don't have a menu, I can throw it on the MyFitnessPal and see if it has something on there. So for me, that was very helpful in planning out and making sure I'm not going crazy on any of the macros when I have to go out for lunch. So
I think that's fantastic, and it also speaks to your ability to start building that sustainability early on in the beginning of the program by utilizing that tracking in the way that you're looking at it, just how you described it now. I'm going to look at the menu ahead of time, and then I can plan my meals. And it's not talking about meal prepping necessarily, but you're having awareness of what's going to happen. And there's days, there's days where your macros and your calories and all that kind of stuff is going right out the window. And we can't help it. The train's off the track. So what do? If you don't have the knowledge of what you've done to yourself that day nutritionally, it's hard to get back on the horse the next day.
Yeah.
So that's a very important point for people to understand, that your success in the program, at least, and not necessarily forever in the sustainability part, but in the program, really centers around your ability to track and understand what you're putting into your body that way. Really, is this program's built in the kitchen. Your body, your results are from the kitchen, not necessarily figuring out that activity.
Right.
You've missed a month or so, few weeks of activity because of the baby. That's fine, because your body has built a new norm. It knows where it wants to get to. So when you hit it again, it's going to respond very quickly to the stuff that you do to your body, because when you're not active and you're eating a bunch of stuff that your body is not used to anymore, it doesn't want it anymore. And you probably feel that, in your energy levels, just how sometimes just how your stomach feels, what you're eating, your body is talking to you. And we for so long ignored what our body was telling us that got us to the point that we're in the program.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that, like, the same feelings I was feeling when I was 248, like just that, like, I don't feel great. My clothes aren't fitting right. Like, I'm feeling those same feelings now over the past couple of weeks. Like, I just don't feel good because I'm not doing what I need for my body. And so for me, it's kind of positive reinforcement for me that, okay, like I've made a lot of progress. I'm not doing exactly what I need to, but if I get back on and push it hard again, I'm going to keep progressing. So, like, my body's not satisfied where it's at.
No. And now your body's giving you alarm bells at this point, and you're able to recognize them. When we get so far out of shape, we lose the ability to understand what our body is telling us. It starts speaking a different language.
Yeah.
And we ignore when we know we should be paying attention. And then a lot of times we simply don't understand. And one of the things my doctor told me, my cardiologist, when I had some heart issues after my first Ironman, he's like, "You're the healthiest sick guy we got in here." He's like, "And I love having you as a patient because you know what it feels like to feel good. And as soon as you start feeling bad, all these other people, they have so many things wrong with them because they've ignored their body. They don't even know how to tell you that they feel good. And you've created that state now with your body where it's talking back to you and say, "Hey, it's been 6 weeks, brother. We got to do something. I'm being patient, but I'm going to start letting you know, and that's going to be when your pants don't fit.
Yeah.
And the shirt's too tight in the places you don't want it to be tight. Your shirt's never tight in your arms, to make your arms look big. It's always tight in your gut. where we don't want it. So your body does that on purpose. I think there's a method to its madness behind there. It's going to shame you into getting back to what you're doing. So how was your wife through this whole process? This doesn't happen, when you're on an island by yourself. You need that support. What kind of support did you have from your family?
Yeah, she's been great. So my wife has always been a very health oriented person. So she always tries to eat good, healthy foods. She also loves chocolate too. So that's, but that's good quality chocolate, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, so we always have good, healthy foods here. With her being pregnant over the past, obviously 9 months, so that whole time when I was dropping weight, she was trying to put on weight as well. So she was actually trying to, she was supplementing with protein powder as well, trying to get more protein for the baby. Our diets were different because she was putting on more, she was also focusing on higher fats and things like that. So, so throughout the process, a lot of times we were eating different food or modified food where hers had a lot more butter, sour cream, and cheese on it, and mine, my tacos were more meat and vegetables, more of a taco salad. So, but yeah, she was very supportive because she wants me to be healthy. She wants me to be happy.
Sure.
So she was very supportive throughout the process.
Did you feel that the program was designed to allow that cohesiveness, in the household? You said you had different diets, so you're eating different things. And a lot of times that's very frustrating to spouses when they're like, I got to make 2 meals now, or we're not eating the same thing. That's frustrating. Do you feel what we allowed, as far as you really were picking your foods that you wanted to eat? We weren't telling you specifically what to eat, that there was a comfort level there, or it made it easier to navigate some of those type of meal situations?
I would say it's not perfect. A perfect solution would be, we're eating the same foods every meal, and some families that may be doable where everyone gets on board and eats the same things, and you can follow the program to a T. But a lot of times it doesn't work out that way, whether you have kids who eat cookies or whatever. But so I guess for me it was kind of an in-between balance. Like we would try to eat dinner at the same time. Maybe it wasn't exactly the same foods, but maybe most of the meal was the same. Like we would have chicken and rice or something that's and fresh vegetables or something like that. But maybe I wouldn't eat the dessert that everyone else is eating. And so I would just have to kind of pass on some of those extras that they have. So for the most part, we tried to eat as similar as we could throughout the process. But obviously when I'm on the program, I have to make those tough decisions to avoid those things that will set me back.
So you mentioned your oldest kid is 7. Was he aware that what you were eating was different, and did it prompt any type of questions as to, why aren't you eating the same thing I am?
Yeah. So yeah, she is, she's very aware of everything going on around her, as most 7-year-olds are. They don't miss anything. But yeah, so for them, they knew that I was trying to make my belly smaller and try to be healthier. So at the beginning, like we would have these meetings, and I called them the Fat Dads Club instead of 6, because that's what I was at that time. But she just the other day, we were talking about it, and she's like, "Dad, I don't want you to be skinny." I was like, I'm never going to be like super skinny. I'm just trying to get healthy and be a good spot. So yeah, so she's aware, and she was a little bit jealous of the protein bars that I was eating, because they were chocolate protein bars, and she wanted them as well. So but yeah, so overall, all the kids noticed and were supportive. When I was making them breakfast, she likes to make breakfast as well, so she would make eggs and ask me if I want any scrambled eggs for breakfast. I'm like, no, I'm gonna pass this morning, but maybe for lunch I'll have some. So, and she's like, oh yeah, that's right. But one thing, it was a funny story with kids. So during this process, I did go down a size in clothes. So when I say I'm not feeling it as well, maybe that's why, because my smaller clothes are starting to feel a little bit snug, and so I need to.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure I don't go back to the old clothes I was wearing.
Right.
But yeah, I was trying on a new pair of pants, and my 2-year-old, he had like just turned 2. He's like, pants too small? Yes, I was trying them on. I was like, no, they're not too small. They're perfect.
That's right.
And so
I remember my when years ago I was getting in shape again, and my daughter asked me what I was doing, and I said I was going to the gym to get into shape, and she goes, "Oh, you don't want to be the shape of a ball anymore?" I'm like, no, I don't want to be the shape of a ball.
yeah.
So it's fun, and I ask those questions because kids are aware, and sometimes it creates a really interesting dynamic in the family. Around mealtime when we are doing something that's so drastically different sometimes, and they're eating mac and cheese for every single meal, which we probably as parents, that's probably not very responsible, but we allow it. Yeah. And then trying to introduce them to new stuff, like Brussels sprouts and these healthy things that kids want to resist the whole time. So it's always interesting to hear how this program affects the family dynamic as a whole.
Yeah. And I would say that with, I talk about my wife and how she's very healthy. We are, as a family, we have been trying to eat pretty healthy. So our kids do really well with their vegetables and eating pretty well rounded. Obviously, the mac and cheese is real, the love of that. And so they always want mac and cheese, but they obviously don't always get it. But they also will just slice up a cucumber and eat cucumber, and that's not something I want to do.
Right.
But
weird.
They'll do it. Yeah. So like, yeah. So for them, it's, I would say hasn't changed a whole lot. I think for me, it's more not as much in the home meal change of meals. It's more when I'm on the go.
Right.
Like those business lunches, just paying more attention to those. Obviously, overall, I had to make cutbacks everywhere. Just watching the quantity of food that I eat, but I would say that the quality of the meals at home beforehand were pretty good overall. So it wasn't that big of a change.
As some of your food habits now, when you talk about going out to eat, business lunches, that kind of stuff, has it prompted conversations with your business partners or clients or anybody that you're out eating with? Are they like, notice that you're doing something different?
Well, yeah. So I guess one other beneficial thing that happened is that at the start of the new year, as a company, we started a fitness challenge. And so it was really helpful because I had started a week before. And so I was kind of had that momentum going. But it was helpful when we did go out on these business lunches. If it was with coworkers, then typically we were all kind of helping each other eat healthy. So that was nice. And we could all help each other, and we all saw the changes in each other's bodies. They would make comments about how I was getting skinny and things like that. So it was definitely helpful to have their support as well through that process. Yeah,
I find that to be really it's very easy to get knocked off that path in a work environment. Mm-hmm. Particularly sometimes if we're big guys and we're trying to shape up and slim down a little bit, then you're already putting yourself out there. It's a little vulnerable. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of guys that makes them uncomfortable to talk about it in the group or even bring it up that they're doing something.
Yeah, it's like you're the biggest guy and you're the one eating like a salad at lunch.
Yeah, you're eating that little salad at lunch, and then everyone's looking at you like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, like is that for show or what is that? Because you haven't been eating salads and getting where you're at.
Yeah, so. Forever. We've never seen you eat something green, and now you've got this big salad for you. So, I mean, there's a real thing. I mean, women talk about this vanity aspect of stuff, and being uncomfortable, or looking at what the media portrays as the perfect shape out there for them. And you go into a store and you see mannequins that don't look like you.
Mhm.
You know, mannequins are built for tiny little European people. I don't know who invented mannequins, but they weren't American.
Yeah.
Because they don't look like what we're shaped like. And I do you find that did you have any of those self-conscious feelings in the beginning when you got to that 248 and you're looking in the mirror, or you're putting your clothes on, or you're seeing other guys that look like that guy's, you can see his abs through his dress
Mhm.
shirt. I went through a whole realm of being uncomfortable and feeling really self-conscious around people like that when I was at my heaviest. Did you find yourself feeling that way at all?
Yeah, I felt like I've had some body image, I guess, self-esteem issues, you could say. Uh, I can think of an example. A couple of years ago, we had some family pictures taken, and one of the pictures was everyone kind of holding hands, walking away from the camera. I remember like seeing my love handles just in my,
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, like I hated, like I couldn't look at that picture. I just hated it. And obviously it's affected me mentally.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it, but yeah, like for me, I'm jealous of the guys with the big bellies that don't have love handles, because I'm
Right.
like, my belly may not be huge, but like I just look funny. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, like that's been my biggest challenge, of trying to just to my goal is to get rid of those love handles. But yeah, as far as that, like I think stereotypically it's more, it's not as, I don't know if it's as common, or if it's just not as spoken about for men to have those issues. Obviously, there are people that are overweight and don't have self-esteem and body image issues, and I think that's
Absolutely.
great. And there are people that I look at that I would love to have a body like theirs, and they may have body image
Right.
issues, and so it's
Absolutely.
all a personal thing. And I think whatever makes you happy and comfortable in your own skin is what we want to shoot for. Obviously, as long as we're doing it in a healthy way. We
Right.
don't want to do anything that's unhealthy to try to make ourselves feel better, and at least the way that we look and things like that. So if that's the case, then it's maybe something more mental than physical that you're going through. So.
And I think, Tyson has been very careful to talk about the goals of this program and the baby steps that we take. And this is a process in building a lifestyle, and it's not a get thin quick type
Mm-hmm.
program. And there's some guys lose a lot of weight fast, and there's some guys like you that it's slow and steady. It's a pound and a half a week, but it's always a pound and a half a week. It's just you're working through it. It's not the big leaps and bounds that some guys see. And I think, to your testament, this is going to be a very sustainable pace for you. You've learned how your body reacts to the amount of activity and nutrition that you put into your body, and this is where you're at.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't want it to be some short, quick fix thing where I'm going to relapse and put all back on. So I've lost 36 pounds, but I've got another 30 to go. So it's I'm not satisfied where I'm at yet. So I just got to keep on continuing, and once I hit that goal weight, then I can figure out what's next from there. But
Right.
but I'm not there yet, so it's still definitely work in progress for me.
Well, the good news is we've got programs and phase 2 stuff that when you hit those goal weights, we can change focus and help guys move in different directions. The key is getting to that goal weight.
Right.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, and it's exciting seeing other guys in the group that I've gotten to know where they have hit that goal weight, and then you see them starting the phase 2 where they're talking about now they're wanting to put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle, and kind of changing their diet to take that next step. And so
that's why looking at the weight is so it's a barometer in the beginning, but it's really not the end all.
Mm-hmm.
The weight, we don't care how much you weigh. Actually, it's all about how you feel and you look.
Yeah.
You can weigh 214 pounds right now and be 9% body fat. You're going to be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
So it's all relative in that fact. So we're a little over 45 minutes. Give me one point that we can share with new guys. If you could say anything to them starting the program, what do they need to focus on the most?
I would just say do your best to follow the program as it's written. The program for me was kind of a snapshot of, okay, this is what has been done and has been successful. If I can incorporate as much of that into what I'm doing as possible, then I'm confident that I will have success too. And so you're not going to be perfect at it, but try to be diligent at following, I would say, intermittent fasting, and tracking your foods and the exercise. I would say those are the top three things for me that I can be perfect at tracking my food. Was I perfect all the time? No, I wasn't perfect all the time, but that's something that you can be perfect at. You may not be perfect at meeting your macros or getting the best exercise possible, but you can be perfect at tracking. You can be perfect at doing 15 minutes of exercise a day. It may not be as I said, like some days may be better 15 minutes than others. But for the most part, you can probably find 15 minutes a day to get that exercise in.
Yeah.
If you try. So,
yeah.
And the other one, I don't remember the other one that I said, the intermittent fasting. So for me, that was actually easy for me to start. I did it and it worked and I got into the habit of it. And so for me, that wasn't too big of a challenge, but at the same time, that was a huge piece of the program, because when I'm trying to get 150, 180 calories or carbs of protein in while only hitting 15 to 1600 calories a day, compacting those into a 6 to 8 hour window is much more doable than trying to eat a breakfast, then a lunch, and then a dinner, and the snacks in between, and trying to fit the as few calories as I was taking in, trying to spread that out. It's just too difficult. But having intermittent fasting, for me, it was double benefit. The benefit of letting my body do the I can't remember what it was called, the effects that
well, the thermogenic effects.
Yeah, just the benefits internally from intermittent fasting.
Yes.
With like the glucose and the insulin. Yeah, insulin was what I was thinking of. Having that plus helping with the calorie deficit that I was shooting for. And so for me, that was a big key to my success.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I want to applaud you again for the progress that you made. I mean, I know you want to lose another 30 pounds or 30 plus pounds there. And that seems daunting to a lot of guys, because some guys, that's all they want to get to is just 30. If I can lose 30 pounds, that's great. You've already done it. You've moved past that 30-pound threshold, moving on to another 30 pounds. And I think you just really need to applaud yourself and your ability to stay the course in this. That is the biggest part of this thing. Why a lot of guys fail at it is they give up when they don't see those quick and big results every week. And you've had a great example of that steady state work that has produced the needle moving every single week. And so I thank you for being that diligent with the program, because it really does reinforce how well the program can work when you follow it, as you said, as written.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
And I appreciate it. And just having that accountability along the way has been definitely helpful to keep me on the track. Well,
we try to be gentle with it as much as we can, but sometimes we got to kick guys in the butt and get them re-engaged. Yeah. But you're absolutely a pleasure to work with, and to see your progress. It's fantastic. And you did it as written, like you said, and that just makes it so much easier for Tyson and Andrew and myself. So, well, that's fantastic, dude. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is one more episode of the Six Pack Dad Tribe, and we will have this up on Facebook and probably LinkedIn. Tyson will get that on this this recording for other people to view and review. And we just thank you guys for joining us. And want to say good night. And Coleman, good luck with the next 30 pounds. And we're only a text away.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
All right. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Stop.